Look between Cape Town and Buenos Aires into the center of the South Atlantic. Thousands of kilometers from any continent, you will find a single speck of land. This is Tristan da Cunha. The island has no airport and no capacity to build one. Access is limited to fishing vessels sailing from South Africa 9 times a year. The journey takes 6 days one way, and if a storm hits, the ship might wait offshore for weeks before it can unload. This extreme distance has produced a society of 220 people who are all related. In the village of Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, doors are never locked. Because everyone is a cousin, there is no one to steal from. Despite this primitive isolation, their economy reaches the highest levels of global commerce. Their primary export, rock lobster, is shipped from these remote waters to the kitchens of the Waldorf Astoria in New York. Ownership of land is strictly prohibited for outsiders, regardless of wealth. By blocking external settlement, the islanders have converted their geographic isolation into a deliberate, everyday policy. The modern population traces its entire lineage back to 15 people who arrived between 1816 and 1908. Every resident today is a direct descendant of that original group. In 1827, the colony faced a collapse due to a lack of women. To ensure survival, an English captain persuaded 5 multiracial women from St. Helena to immigrate and marry the island's bachelors. Today, DNA mapping shows that every girl born on Tristan still carries the genes of those 5 founding mothers. This diagram traces how a standard, sprawling family tree collapses over 2 centuries of isolation. Only 7 surnames remain on the island. This creates a mathematical certainty. Any marriage in the community today is a marriage between cousins. We can see the biological consequences in the red markers on this chart. Between 36 and 57% of islanders have asthma, a rate traced back to the original founding couple. Similarly, a hereditary blinding disease appears at 27 times the rate found in the United Kingdom. To remain a community, they accepted a heavy biological trade-off. They sacrificed genetic health to maintain a continuous presence on the rock. For 130 years, Tristan da Cunha functioned without a government, police force, or courts. There was no currency and no recorded crime. This social order was based on a single-page document from 1817 called the Original Agreement. It established that all land, livestock, and catches of fish were to be shared equally. No individual was permitted to stand above another. The isolation forced a culture of extreme patience, visible in their courtship rituals. A young woman expresses interest by knitting woolen socks for a suitor, using specific stripe counts to communicate her feelings. The process takes weeks, requiring the suitor to wait and decode the message before knitting leather moccasins in reply. For 15 people living at the edge of the world, collective survival left no room for hierarchies. The lack of crime and conflict was a practical byproduct of having nowhere else to go. On October 10, 1961, a volcano dormant for 200,000 years woke up. A fissure opened directly between the village and the canning factory, forcing the total evacuation of all 264 residents. They were resettled in England, where they encountered concepts they had never seen: traffic, television, and the rigid schedules of capitalist labor. The British press treated them as curiosities, photographing their first bus rides and visits to Woolworths. The islanders struggled in the English winter. They lacked immunity to common viruses, leading to deaths among the elderly. Their concept of time, based on ship arrivals rather than minutes, made them incompatible with UK jobs. When customers were scarce, the islanders simply left their posts and went home. In 1963, despite government efforts to keep them in England, the community voted to return. They had experienced modern Western civilization and chose to abandon it. They sailed back to the volcanic ash of their island. 400 kilometers south on Gough Island, an external variable breached the ecosystem in the 19th century and is now rewriting its biology. House mice brought by sailors have evolved to become twice their normal size. These invasive predators have learned to attack the nests of the Tristan albatross, consuming live chicks that are hundreds of times their mass. Mice account for the loss of 2 million chicks and eggs every year, nearly 4 birds every minute. Even 35-year-old adults, birds with decades of survival experience, have been targeted and killed on the nest. The birds have no natural defense against a predator weighing 40 grams. Within this incredibly remote system, a tiny, unseen variable is effectively dismantling a population that existed for millennia. The newest threat to the human population of Tristan da Cunha is quieter than a volcano and smaller than a mouse. It arrived via satellite and fiber optic cables. This line graph charts the population decline. In 1987, the island supported 296 people. By 2026, that number is projected to fall to 216. The community has shrunk by 27% in 40 years. For an 18-year-old today, the internet reveals a world that makes the island feel small. Staying means a lifetime on 98 square kilometers and a marriage to a cousin. Leaving for university in England offers a chance to meet strangers, but it often means never coming home. If the current exodus of young people continues, the village of Edinburgh of the Seven Seas will eventually lose its permanent population. Within 50 years, these fishing boats and lobster traps may serve only seasonal workers in an abandoned nature reserve. A community survives because its people choose to belong to one another every day. For 200 years, the Tristanians made that choice. Now, the next generation is deciding if the island is still worth the cost.